So I get asked about retirement a lot these days. Today we're going to be talking about 4 risks to your retirement. Even with careful planning, when it comes to retirement, there are things that can be out of your control completely. Today, I'm going to be talking about 4 risks that could impact your retirement as a university employee. Longer life expectancy. So when we think about past generations, our parents or grandparents, retirement looked a lot different than it does today. Many of them looked to retire at age 55 or even 60, but only lived to maybe 74 to 78. Nowadays, retirement happens later, maybe at 62 or 65. Some university employees are there until even age of 70. But we're living a lot longer, which means retirement can last almost as long as you spent working. If you live out to age 95 or 98, some of you may even hit 100. The big question is, will your money last you for your entire retirement? Recent surveys have showed one of the top concerns for university employees is outliving their money in retirement. So you absolutely want to make sure that you've planned accordingly and saved enough along the way to make sure you're not in that situation where you could be outliving your money. Medical costs and long-term care. So this is something that's very difficult to plan for. Medical costs can range depending upon how much of your insurance goes with you at retirement from the university, how much coverage you have, what type of supplemental insurance you have, and how healthy you are. It's very difficult to plan for medical expenses because we don't know when things may happen. But these kind of expenses can really impact your savings and your income. So you want to make sure that you've saved enough and planned accordingly to make sure that that's not something that's really digging into your pocket in retirement. Now, long-term care costs are something that are really on the rise these days. The inflation rate around long-term care expenses is actually north of 7%. And long-term care also looks very different these days. It used to be long-term care meant confined to round-the-clock care facilities. Nowadays, long-term care could just mean some extra help around the house. I know from personal experience when my father had a fall and broke his hip, he needed some extra help. He's 6 foot, my mother's 5'2". There was no way my mother could help him get out of bed or get dressed in the morning. So it meant extra expenses on a weekly or monthly basis. There's a lot of different things that can be done when it comes to long-term care planning. So make sure you plan early and at least evaluate some different options. Market risk. The market is something that's totally out of our control. In theory, we believe the markets are efficient and that they go up over the long term. But the question really becomes how much risk you have in your portfolio and how much you're saving on a regular basis. You want to make sure when it comes to retirement, you've done the appropriate planning along the way. You want to make sure that you're saving enough, and regardless of some of those other risks we talked about, you're covered and that you've saved enough. The other thing is, with the market, it also comes down a little bit to timing. Are you retiring and then the market drops off? Are you retiring or about to retire and then the markets get more volatile? Market risk is something that can't be totally planned for, but it's something that can be evaluated on a regular basis on your portfolio and the risk and volatility that you have. If it's something that you're unsure about, make sure you talk to a professional. Rising inflation. What is this? So inflation, quite simply, is the rising cost of goods or services. And we experience this periodically with the economy. Think about milk, gasoline, groceries, or just everyday services that you utilize. The cost of these keep going up. I know when my grandparents were alive, gasoline was a nickel or 25 cents, and look at it today. We're up over $3 a gallon. That's inflation. So as inflation goes up, we need to be saving more to offset that increase in the cost of goods and services, especially when we're thinking about 10, 15, even 20 years from now, when we're on the doorstep of retirement and even into retirement. The best thing we can do is keep saving and making sure that we don't take on too much risk from what we're comfortable with in our portfolios. But inflation right now is a hot topic. With all of the stimulus that happened around the pandemic and the COVID situation, a lot of money was created and printed and distributed by the government. This is something that can lead to inflation. So there's a lot of experts out there and news analysts that are looking very closely at inflation and how it might impact us and the economy. This is something that could decrease our purchasing power in retirement. So it's absolutely one of the top 4 risks that could impact your retirement. Hopefully now you've got a better understanding of these 4 major risks that could impact your retirement. The key here is to make sure that you think about these as you're doing your planning throughout the years and account for them. This can lead to more successful and sustainable retirements. If you have any questions or you're worried about where you stand, or maybe some of the planning you might need to do, don't be afraid to reach out. Take advantage of the Provisor Blueprint or just give us a call. I'm happy to answer your questions, whether it's via email, on the phone, or even if you get me on social.